like 50%, or you're not answering nearly as many phone calls as you thought. You're only answering 75 or 65% of your phone calls, right? So these are the things that become the focus. Once you've reset, once you've rebuilt your brand, made it cohesive, made it strong, once you've started developing all these basic systems, now you start looking into training. And so in a year and a half of being in dentistry, I think I've gotten to play around in 6 or 7 online booking systems before, we now standardize. We bring everything under the same PMS. I guess the joys of being a marketer is being able to learn things very quickly. Nothing else really matters, right? If your dentist isn't there and can't treat and plan well, it's not going to go well. So you need that foundation.
Welcome to another episode of Dental Marketing Go. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the CEO of SMC National. We are a marketing agency that provides predictable new patient flows for offices just like yours. And today I got a special episode. Geoff is coming on, and he is the marketing director of DAG, DAG. And they actually have 13 locations. And I'm really, really excited because he's actually going to share with us what they've done from a marketing perspective to grow to where they're at, and then what they're going to do in the future. And we're going to talk about the good stuff, the bad stuff, the stuff that worked, the stuff that didn't. So Geoff, thank you so much for coming on today.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. And very excited to talk about DAG and how we've gotten to where we've gotten.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you guys got started from your marketing journey. What did you guys do to get to 13 practices?
So I think for me, again, I happen to be relatively new in dentistry. It's an area that I didn't think I would grow into, but I have. And so I came on.
I'm same boat. Yeah, never thought. When I was a little kid, I wasn't like, hey, when I grow up, I want to be a dental marketer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to disrupt the show, but I got something crazy to share with you. We are attempting to connect with all of our listeners. We have thousands of people that listen to this podcast, and we want to meet you in person. We have 4 events coming up, and I want to give you a discount code that you can use for the next week to save $300 off your ticket. The discount code is Gary Bird, and the link is going to be just down below. You can also go to smcnational.com/events. I hope to connect with you in person and help each other grow our businesses. Can't wait to see you soon. To start off?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I came into. And so it had definitely grown through patient referrals. That was where the strengths were. Coming in as a new marketer, things that I found, there was some reset there, but again, the foundations were there. They're looking at it from an interview standpoint. It needed a little bit of work. It definitely needed a marketing professional. That was something I had been told that they had struggled with this position in the past. But it certainly wasn't bad from any point.
Yeah, because it's actually harder to market something that doesn't have that foundation, even if they have all the nuts and bolts, right? So let's say you had an unlimited budget, the best website, the best everything, but you have horrible culture, horrible operations, you're mistreating patients. Yeah, you might be able to get some leads to start, but it's very hard to grow that. So what you're doing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're taking a really good, solid business that has good patient referrals, good patient flow already from just building relationships, and you're going to add marketing on top of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. And I completely agree with you there. It's especially as a new employee coming in, it would be, I guess, risky to tell your boss, hey, the culture here, this isn't exactly a very fun place to go working. They might accept that, but chances are it wouldn't go well for you. But it's far easier to come in and say, hey, in my experience, these type of techniques really aren't working as well. We can change that, but especially in dentistry, if our employees aren't there and strong in their roles, nothing else really matters, right? If your dentist isn't there and can't treat and plan well, it's not going to go well. So you need that foundation, and that's far more challenging to build, I guess.
100%. Yeah, you can't, as a marketing director, you can't really go in and help fix the culture if that is the problem. So sounds like you found a great spot. What's your main initiatives right now? What are you focusing on?
We're really focusing on, so as I mentioned, in the first year, we experienced a bit of explosive growth. We, I think, doubled the size of our company basically over my first year.
So from what to what? How are you measuring double?
In terms of practices, so we added on, we're now at 13 practices. When we started, I think we were at 6, 7 practices. And then we've also brought in and merged, we've moved practices. So yeah, in that opening time, it was very rapid. And to come in and try to reset your marketing initiatives and reset your entire marketing structure, as well as experience that growth, it's fast, I guess.
So what's worked? Like what has helped you drive? So you're getting all these offices and you're like, man, I got to get patients in right away. What's working really well for you right now?
A stronger focus on coming in, rebuilding the website. That was a big thing that we tackled early on. When I first came in, the website that I saw, there was actually one in development. Kind of put the brakes on that. When I took a look at it, it wasn't performing well. It didn't look good while it was in development. So we kind of rolled back from that, which again was a big step when your marketing person comes in and says, can we stop this major project? It's not going well. So I rebuilt that myself. That was part of the exploration was, okay, what can we do here? All right, this isn't lining up. Let me go explore this technology. Let me build it out. So the new website that we currently have is completely built by me, which was a fun process, but
and
also
is that
very
a single brand? One brand?
Yeah, single brand with all the practices for landing pages. So yeah, that was another big change that we made was they were running websites, a single website under a single domain per location.
Yep.
Which, as you can imagine, the costs were huge compared to what they are now. I think.
Yep. So did you have to change each brand's name?
No, that's part of the strong foundation that I walked into. They were doing that right for sure, and that was one of the nice things, and that was part of the scale that we were looking at. Again, through my interview process, I knew they wanted to scale. I knew we wanted to grow pretty fast. So rebuilding the marketing with that in mind was a core focus, and it wasn't there. We couldn't scale print materials, we couldn't scale the website fast. All these things were a bit broken. The brand wasn't very cohesive, and my background is truly in design, so that's an important part for me. So again, rebuild all of this.
So you rebuilt the website. The website's now there. What's the next step that you took to start producing more new patients?
Start following the KPIs from there. We start looking at it, adjust the SEO. For us, the big thing was to strengthen our online booking. We didn't really have a very strong online booking. Now we're getting there. It's something that's been a major focus, especially towards the end, middle to end of 2022, was how can we maximize this opportunity? Again, we are getting strong referrals, which was a nice foundation to know that my practices were at least going to float, right? If we're getting such a high amount of those high quality patients. Online booking, though, as we all know, a different challenge. It's not exactly a strong patient could be coming out of marketing. SEO, someone who just Googles you and says, yeah, sure, I need an appointment right now, but then they might not show up. And again, availability times. If you don't have it, you're not going to grab your conversions as much as you'd like. So
that was but the online schedulers break a lot, because anytime someone changes something in the PMS, it goes down, and it might be down for 2 days before you recognize it, and you're going, why are we getting less leads? Something's broken on the site. Have you ran into that?
Oh, so much. And that's part of our growth model is so far has been purely through acquisition. And so in a year and a half of being in dentistry, I think I've gotten to play around in 6 or 7 online booking systems before, we now standardize. We bring everything under the same PMS. But for a little bit there during transition, I always have to make something work with the previous system. And so, that's, I guess the joys of being a marketer is being able to learn things very quickly. And that's just another challenge of how we've grown. So the online bookings, they started to develop. We really started to increase that. And with increasing the availability, we've increased new patient numbers that way. It's not exactly scalable. And I think that's a big topic of things that we've been doing up until this point. Well, we can.
So what do you mean by that? So what I see happening here, just to reframe for our audience. So you came in, you were like, lowest hanging fruit website needs to be updated, and then from there, and it was important that you did it the right way, because if I've seen a lot of people do dental websites the wrong way for multi-location, and creates a ton of work. So kudos to you for getting that right. Then you went in, let's get the online booking, let's get our phones right, because that's kind of the marketing to hand off. Because a lot of people would just say, oh, no, just dump money into advertising. But if you don't answer the phone, it doesn't really matter. Or if your online booking's broken or you're using a faulty system, it doesn't really matter. So you went for the lowest hanging fruit, which is super smart. But then you said that it's not really scalable. So what do you kind of mean by that?
So you can get your new patient referrals and you can get your online bookings, but you can't flip any magic switch that's going to increase those drastically. There's just no such thing. You can do things to make an effort to increase them. A lot of that is in staff training, which we all know takes a lot of time and resources. You can incentivize them depending on what you're taking in terms of insurances. But you can't just say, I'm going to do A and it's going to increase these sorts of things. And so, yeah, like I said, it's nice that we started with such a strong foundation. Again, right now, if I were to hand out a $25 gift card to get a new patient through a referral, that's a really cheap way to go grab new patients. I'm happy about that. So I have no problem with incentivizing these things, but it's going to happen very organically.
It's not scalable. You're not, if they said, I'll put it a different way. If one of the offices come to you and say, hey, Geoff, we just hired 2 new doctors. They start next week and we're going to need 40 new patients for each of them. That's the not scalable part, right? You can't all of a sudden flip a switch. So is that kind of the next step for you, is creating the predictable patient flow?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we're at now. And again, part of what I came into was no data. We didn't really have data. And I absolutely do not think that's uncommon. Even outside of dentistry, almost every role I've walked into, it's just not there. And I think for a lot of people, they just kind of assume that things are going completely fine. But when you really pull back the cover, you start to learn things. And
it's
learning
never going fine, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you think that your phones are going great, but your conversions really aren't there. Maybe like 50%, or you're not answering nearly as many phone calls as you thought. You're only answering 75 or 65% of your phone calls, right? Yeah. So these are the things that become the focus. Once you've rebuilt your brand, made it cohesive, made it strong, once you've started developing all these basic systems, now you start looking into training, and you start making sure that the I guess bucket of opportunities that you're catching, your leads, are actually converting for you. And I think for a lot of people, they think, oh, I'm going to go out and hire a marketing guy. I'm going to hand him some money and he's going to do magic, and suddenly, patients are going to arrive. And I just, that's not the case, right? We all know if you were to hand me $10,000 without knowing anything and I just go out and get new patients, yeah, it could happen, but I'm probably spending far more money than anyone really wants me to be spending while doing it. And
there's a learning curve even for the most experienced people. And again, if you don't have clear data, you don't know who to hold accountable. So is this a marketing issue, a capability? Maybe you don't know, you've never done it before, or is it an operational issue that they're not answering the phones? And if you don't have that data, it's so hard to nail that down.
Yeah, exactly.
So what data platforms are you using? What are you doing to really dig into that?
Right now, it's essentially my practice management system, Google Analytics, and that's about it. And we're
what PMS do you guys use?
CareStack. Okay,
cool. That's cool. I'm actually speaking at their event for their power users in February, so I'm very familiar with them.
And for us, that was part of our growth. We needed to move to cloud. We needed to have more access to this thing, and so that was essential for our growth. So yeah.
That's awesome. And then do you, one thing that I've noticed, and how long have you been with DAG? How long? Over a year, right?
Year and a half.
Perfect. Okay. I wanted to get that before I said what I'm about to say. A lot of dental marketing managers get fired really fast, like in the first year. And the reason for that is just what we talked about. They come into like a big blank canvas basically, and then they're told like, yeah, double our new patients or triple our new patients. What has been for you the difference in being able to make this work, even though you walked into the same situation a lot of other people do?
I think perhaps confidence, boldness, these types of things. I think in general, when being hired, right? If my bosses could have done this role, they wouldn't need me. I wouldn't be here. Um, because why spend the money to hire someone if you truly don't need them? And so I was brought on, in my opinion, for the expertise that I have. I have years of background marketing, not in dentistry, but marketing in general. Um, so obviously there's a need there. And so when I came in, there wasn't really a fear to discuss these things and have a hard conversation about, hey, well, we're really not here where I'd like to be. But again, that's why you're brought on. You're brought on to develop a role, to develop this whole department as a whole. So yeah, don't be afraid to really let your expertise shine and help guide that. And I think there's nothing to worry about. Some people just kind of quiet down and they go, oh yeah, okay, we'll do that. But again, I know, talking back to it,
Yeah, it's not going to work.
yeah, if you just hand me a pile of money, I know it's going to go wasting. So why should I recommend that? It's just not a good idea.
Yeah, and then so what's been one of the bigger struggles for you is to like things that aren't working as well? Because it sounds like you stepped in, you said, "Hey, no, we're not doing that. We're going to focus here," and you've been very strategic and you've taken the right steps, which is amazing. But what's been like the hardest jump as a marketer coming over to dental?
To dental, it's absolutely with I guess the integrations in the industry as a whole. Everyone has their own solution, and while they're all great, they don't really talk to each other very well. And that's absolutely been a huge problem for us. We have this PMS that's fantastic, and we do like it. Certain elements of it aren't there. Certain elements we could find better elsewhere, and we'd love to have these interactions where all these pieces come together. And even before CareStack, that was our biggest focus. CareStack was the all-in-one solution
It's the backbone,
that we did end up finding. But before that, we just couldn't bring everything together. And again, when we're talking data, when we're talking KPIs, it's essential to be able to have that. And if systems won't talk to each other, it doesn't matter. It's a lot of hours on one person, most likely.
Yeah, that's tough. So you don't use any like analytics like Dental Intel or Jarvis, or do they use it and you just kind of don't because they don't have a lot of marketing information?
Now that we're rebuilt, probably our biggest target of 2023. I'm working on this actively right now, is to streamline that whole process. Right now it's me with an Excel spreadsheet, and that's about it.
Yep. I hear you. That's where I started. That's what we started in, is just put it in Excel. And, the frustrating part is right now is that you have to work with the PMS, and then you have to work with an analytic platform on top of that, right? And then you still don't. Now, other people like it. Operations is like, this is great. Clinical, like, this is great. It still doesn't give you top of funnel, which stinks. But eventually it'll all come together. That it's just a matter of time.
And I think you're right. I think that's part of the exciting growth of dentistry right now. I think there are these positions that are showing up. This consolidation that everyone seems to talk about, it's not the worst thing, because it is bringing in these outside capital companies who will invest in programs like this that create this sort of solution. So yeah, it's coming. I think positions like mine are also coming more and more as people start to consolidate.
100%. Well, we met, just for the audience, we met at the Dental Marketing Manager Bootcamp. Right.
Yep.
And that was the first time we've ever met each other. And so that was huge because that's the first time that anybody's ever hosted anything for a dental marketing manager, right? There's no information out there, at least that I could find. How do you feel about that?
That was my first opinion of it. And I think walking into the room, that's what I said was, trying to get into dentistry, the information is few and far between. And so it was great that you are kind of carrying the torch right now, it feels, on building this community for dental marketers. There's tons of areas for dentists, there's tons of areas for operations, but almost nothing for dental marketers. And, again, you have all these practices that are growing 3, 4, and starting to take that first step into growth with not a lot of guidance on how to get there.
Yeah, they'll just say, hey, we got this marketer. The other thing, I don't know if you've noticed this. Have you noticed that dental does not spend the same way for staff in the marketing department the way that other industries do? Have you noticed that?
And that one person will wear many more hats than typical in other industries?
Well, not even just that, even the big boys.
Yeah.
The big boys, when I've seen people billion-dollar DSOs and they have like a 10-person or 20-person marketing team, where if it was another industry, that would be like their flagship team, and it's just dental just for whatever reason. I haven't put my finger on it. I think some of it has to do with it's all localized. So it's not like a SaaS product, right? So it's everything kind of have to reinvent the wheel each time with each product. Some of it is because dentists are process information in a very certain way, and that kind of keeps certain people out because marketing's a little bit different than you would normally process that information. I can't put my finger on it, but just dental historically has just never been big fans of marketing. Like it for just not that long ago, it was illegal, and I've had people tell me in the last several years, like, marketing kind of makes you look cheap. Marketing makes it me, if I have to market, am I really a good dentist? And it's just not, other industries don't have that kind of mindset.
It's interesting considering that in dentistry, almost every level of the process does involve marketing, right? The whole patient journey all the way through, from finding them through the practice, bringing them back.
Educate.
I mean, the whole way through, and training can make such a difference. And, I guess dentists don't exactly like being called sales, but yep. Let's be honest, that it's there. I find it interesting that you're right. They do tend to shy away, despite the fact that so much of the process could benefit from strong marketing and strong training in marketing.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting because dental is not it's not a product that people are like, I want dentistry usually. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much education that goes into it, and it's really viewed more of a cosmetic type procedure than it is, general health. Now it's becoming more and more about general healthcare and like, hey, if you want to be healthy overall, you need to take care of your mouth. So they're starting to get there, but we're still so far away. 50% of the market in America don't go to the dentist. Like only half of people actually go to the dentist once a year. That's crazy. Like there's so much opportunity for growth.
Yeah. And I think in terms of marketing and my experience with it, that was a shock coming in from outside the industry. I know there's two ways to go about this, right? You can bring up a clinical person, and that comes with strong benefits to finding your marketing person as well. But you can also bring in a marketing person who needs to get caught up on clinical. So many things like that, just not even understood as I walked through the door. I couldn't understand, oh, wow, yeah, we do need a lot of new patients coming in. I didn't know why. If we could just bring them back, well, that's great too, but new patients are essential to getting the growth, right? All of these things, you just don't expect it. It is a bit unique to dentistry.
It is 100%. Well, this has been really good. And last question for you, the whole dental world, the whole dental marketing world's listening, right? And what advice would you give them just in your experience?
Just stay with the basics. There's no magic to marketing. There's no unique thing that you're going to come up with. Stick with your website, stick with your email marketing. Email marketing is always going to be successful. Stick with your digital ads, all that fun stuff. But don't get too caught up in the trendy. It's so easy to let everyone kind of put their own opinion in there and say, oh, well, we should do, TikTok, which...
Oh, you don't want your doctors aren't dancing on TikTok yet?
Yeah, not yet. Maybe one day, but I just, if you know your brand, it's not really where we need to be. I think we're not the biggest search engine for under 21-year-olds, right? That's not exactly our target market.
The dentist is going to be at a dental event soon teaching dentists. He started a marketing company to teach dentists how to go viral online and also teach them how to make money as they're going viral. So not just getting the patients, but going. I'm like, dentists don't want to really do that. Most dentists don't want to. But interesting business model. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, no, it's completely true. And yeah, there's value there. If you go viral, it could be great for you. At the same time, if your core marketing isn't activated properly, that's just extra that you're wasting time on, in my opinion.
Well, he owns I think he owns one practice, right? So it's it's great for selling products if you go viral, or a service that is national, like what I do for dental marketing. Be great if I go viral, you know what I mean, and get in front of every single dentist or even all of America. That would be awesome because I can sell anywhere. But if I'm localized, going viral doesn't necessarily do a whole. It can help you, but it's not a scalable thing and not a predictable thing. So
yeah, it makes you cool. And if it's high educational content, then you can be more of a thought leader. That's great too. You can market that as content. But yeah, in terms of converting new patients, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I've actually there's a doctor that I talked to, Dr. Mackey. She has over 1 million followers, not as much as the Bennis, but a lot. And she sees about 23 new patients a month. And she's just like, yeah, I'm all over the place, but it doesn't translate to new patients necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Dental's tricky that way, that you kind of have to go against what everybody else is saying online about marketing. You have to kind of think through it in a little bit of a different way. And you guys have definitely figured that out. So kudos to you, man. Great job.
No, thank you. And we'll see what this year brings. It's going to really activate a bunch of the awesome marketing, start getting that scalable patient growth, and yeah, hopefully come back next year and talk about that.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. We're definitely going to have you back on to talk about your journey.